Hey guys, how's it going? Back at Rob's place with another fan video for you. This is yet another really rare and interesting piece. It's been a theme tonight.
That's the theme.
This is a Pencrest 300 6-blade prototype, one-off, I guess, Lakewood Pencrest box fan.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, this is the only one like this known to exist. It's 3-speed reversible with a Westinghouse motor and a thermostat on the top. And it is not like anything I've ever seen before. There's one online that's similar, but I believe the guy made it, and it's wider blades. This one came from the factory this way. That
was done by, I think his name's Ron. He lives up in Canada, I believe. And he took two P23 blades and stacked them together. And it's on I think it's on a P23 chassis as well. This one is a true, authentic, factory-made monstrosity. I don't know much about it. I spoke with Don Whipple. Was it Don Whipple? I think it is Don Whipple, he's like the Pencrest guru. That's really strictly what he does, is Pencrest only. He doesn't even deal with the Lakewoods. He deals strictly with Pencrest. And he himself said he's never seen anything like this, and he's got every catalog to exist, basically. And we kind of came to the conclusion that this is probably a prototype, one-off, done to compete with Lasko's 5-wing box fan. And I'm guessing Pencrest or JCPenney went to Pencrest / Lakewood and said, what's the best thing you can make? And they threw this thing together. And I guess, because this is late 60s, early 70s, it was like at the decline of the box fan era, where air conditioning was becoming more common in houses. So these super deluxe box fans were not really selling as much. So it just never got made. I mean, they made it, but it ended up being a 3-wing blade as opposed to a 6-wing. I tried to find out more information about it because I got this on eBay for $100. And it was like early one morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I woke up before I went to work, and I just, as usual, I scrolled through eBay real quick, just like the first newest listings, and this thing was there. I'm just like, what the heck is that?
We might need that.
It was $100. So what could go wrong with $100? I was just like, all right, well, I'll buy it. Whatever it is, it is. And turns out it actually is a thing. Like, it's not even homemade, and that really surprised me. I tried to contact the seller to see if they had any more information, but all I got was, I bought it at an estate sale, and that's it. I don't know much about it. I would like to try to contact Lakewood, the remaining family members, to see if they know anything about it, but at the moment, as far as what my research and other people's research tells us, this is the only one to exist. And I can kind of see why. It's a little ridiculous and kind of loud. So I can see why they didn't mass produce these. It's practical in certain scenarios, but for like home use where you want something that moves air and relatively quiet, this is not that. This is like your modern day Patton or Lakewood high velocity.
Yeah.
This thing's ridiculous.
Moves a lot of air. It's just kind of noisy. It's interesting. You said this is from the late 60s?
I think 1969, 68, 69 to be exact. That's really the only information we can pull up. I know we had looked at specific catalogs and like this particular color scheme, because they made this, they made the Pencrest 300. You can find them, they're out there, but they're 3-wingers.
Yeah.
This particular color
Are they wider blades, or are they 3 skinny ones?
I mean, it's the same as the P48, like the.
Okay, because I was going to say these blades seem awfully skinny.
They are. If you actually look at the blade profile, it's like the P48, the P25, P48 blade, but cut down. It's the exact same profile, just skinnier, and it's the same hub, just double stacked.
Yeah, 2 of them.
But all the other ones are all 3-wingers. So I guess this was kind of like an experiment to see what it would do with 6 blades as opposed to 3, and they were like, let's go back to 3.
Very neat. Yeah, I love these like early deluxe box fans and stuff.
Got control panel.
All the push buttons and the thermostat and like this whole big control center kind of thing. and they had Venturi rings and all that stuff. I find them very neat. These in the really, really early, just absolute tank monstrosity, like 50-pounder box fans.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my favorites.
I've always liked this one. My goal was actually to try to get the most deluxe box fan you can find. You know, not the belt drive ones or like the crazy wild ones, but I wanted like the most
The
deluxe.
highest end.
Yeah, and so far there was two of them before I even knew this thing existed. I had two. I had the 5-blade frigid, 3-speed reversible thermostat pilot light,
Wow.
Venturi ring, 5 metal blades. That was like the most you can get out of a box fan. It had it all. It had 5 blades. It had all the features. And then I also had a Bradford, 3-speed reversible thermostat pilot light, metal grills, metal blade. It was the most deluxe that you can get. And I've always wanted like the best of the best of the best. So when this thing popped up, I'm like, well, I can't possibly beat this now. So I guess I'm done with box fans. So it's just like, all right, well, I got the best. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
But all
Yeah,
right.
you said it's about an 1/8 horsepower Westinghouse.
It's roughly an 1/8. It doesn't actually say the horsepower rating on the motor. It actually, I think they kind of implied that it was like a 1/12, but there's no way a 1/12 horsepower motor is going to turn this blade.
Yeah.
And
Is it shaded pull?
No, it's capacitor.
Oh, good, capacitor.
But it pulls way more current than a typical 1/12 horsepower motor would. I think this thing pulls like 3 amps.
Wow.
And it is a capacitor motor, so it's
I was just going to say,
high horsepower.
that's quite a bit for a
Yeah.
capacitor motor.
It runs cool. It doesn't run hot.
Yeah.
It runs all day long. It's not like the motor's shorted or anything. It definitely is. It's healthy, and I don't really
I'm
think
sure
it was
it does.
used all that much. It seems like this thing was well cared for.
Well, with how loud and obnoxious it is, it's kind of, I can see why.
Well, I get the impression that the person who owned it before me probably had worked for Lakewood, possibly
okay.
Pencrest, and that's why one of the reasons maybe it was kept in such good condition because they knew what it was.
That could be.
And then I guess maybe they passed on and this thing ended up in an estate sale. And
That
now
would
it's
be
in
a
my
wild
house.
story.
Yeah. I wish I knew.
Here, just quickly before I fire it up, go ahead and flip it around so you guys can see. Unfortunately, my camera battery is dead, so we're kind of stuck on the tripod. But
You want to zoom in on the motor?
yeah, that's what I was just going to do. You could see that massive Westinghouse motor there. And also, just the rear profile of those blades is pretty crazy. Without the Venturi.
Which actually, if you want to flip it around, we'll take the front guard off. This way you can actually see.
Yeah, we can do that. Here, I'll pause the video for a second. We can do that. We decided to take a quick break there and take the front grille off just so you guys can see how ridiculous this blade is. It's got one hell of a design to it.
So one question I've always been asked was, how do you know it's not homemade? Well, for starters, if you just look at the discoloration in the paint from the rubber, you could see the discoloration from the rubber matches on the paint. So I know that this hasn't been replaced or messed with. The paint obviously looks, it matches, it looks original. And then the other thing is, if you look here, you see these reinforcing ribs that they stamped into this. The hub that is mounted directly behind the first one does not have them. And they didn't put those there. This way, when they rivet this together and they tack weld it together, because you can see there's actually spot welds here on all intersecting corners, it would sit flush and it wouldn't be protruding outwards, causing an issue with alignment. So they did put some thought behind this.
It's also wild, 4 rivets per blade.
Yeah.
The other reason it's not homemade is like, why would anybody ever do that?
I mean, one person did.
Yeah, oh yes,
Yeah,
but
so
still.
But,
And then they'd have to make custom blades too.
yeah.
It's not like somebody did what the other guy did and just sandwiched 2 of them together. This was
Yeah, and that's an easier blade to work with. This one was a little more complex, so
Yeah,
they definitely did. This was done at the factory, and they put some thought behind this.
yeah, it's interesting. Everything else on this fan, besides the blade and the motor, is just identical to the one they produced.
Yeah, which if you
Even
guys
down
wanna
to the
look
motor tag on it. It's model 9714, I think.
Yep.
Rated at 2 amps. The sticker's incorrect for what this fan is. It's very interesting. But we'll go ahead and zip this grill back on real quick, and then we'll give you guys a demo. Alright, so without further ado, I guess you want to do exhaust first so it's not blowing right at the camera.
Yeah.
Here's high. on steroids, and that's kind of what this thing sounds like noise level wise.
I don't even know what to compare it to. Other than that, because it spins so fast. Well, it doesn't spin fast, but the blades sound like they're spinning so fast.
Yeah, it's like a different sound than those modern fans because it's heavier and it's much bigger bladed. So it's got more of like, it's like a combination between that and like your old metal box fan sound where it's got that like slight roar to it. It's just higher pitched and louder. It's really the best way to describe it. Not a hell of a difference between the speeds either.
Big motor. If you do low speed, this is actually like,
that's like
standard box fan on high.
Yeah, it's a little bit quieter than that, but yeah. It's actually not a bad low.
No, it's not.
You could use it on low.
Yeah.
High speed is a little crazy.
when I had gotten this thing, that was how I used it. Was on low. Because this sat in the window when I lived at my mom's. I had this in the window, and then I had the roto beam 24-inch. Just kind of blowing up. Yeah. Yeah. That's a little excessive.
I love the big red off button too. And it's neat too if you look at it. The buttons here have arrows pointing which way the air is going to blow too, which I think that's pretty neat. All those like little design touches that they had back in the day.
They put a lot of thought behind this.
And you're probably not going to be able to hear us over the wind noise, but here we go high on intake. It really does move an impressive amount of air. It's quite powerful. That's medium. And there's low.
You wouldn't think of a box fan as being like a performer. Box fans are really more of like just your average, throw it in the window circulator. They weren't really designed to be like anything extravagant like your high velocity or your window fans were. It was more of just like a utilitarian, all-purpose, just get the air moving kind of deal. But this thing throws the air so far, it's actually incredible. I'm amazed at how well this thing performs. It's very well designed. I brought this thing to Tom's meet. I think it was probably 2 years ago. I think it was not the last meet, but the one before. And I had this thing running on high. And I don't remember who it was that questioned me, but they're like, "Oh, why is it spinning so fast?" I'm like, "It's not." And then when I shut it off, they're like, "It has 6 blades? I've never seen that before." And I was just like, "Yeah, neither have I. I don't know what else to say about it. It's ridiculous."
6 blades, it's got a hell of a spin down too, because that was only low and it's still spinning.
Yeah. I actually had thought, before I had opened the motor up, I thought it had ball bearings because of how long this thing took. But turns out it actually is sleeve.
It's just big heavy blade.
Yes. But it's a neat piece, and although I don't use it much, I actually thought about maybe putting it on loan in the museum, the one in Indiana. It's something I've been thinking about, recently, because I think it deserves to be there. It's definitely one of these things where it's like you're not going to see another one of these, and there's people out there who've been looking for years. I mean, there's collectors who've been collecting for longer than I have, and they've never even seen one of these. So, I mean, is it really the only one? I don't know.
So far it is,
yeah,
though.
So far
as far as we know.
As far as we know.
There's a couple of those fans at this place. As far as we know, they're the only one.
Like the big one behind it.
Yeah. But, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this neat piece of history here. If you like what you see, hit the little like and subscribe buttons. I'd appreciate that. By all means, leave a comment if you have one. And we'll see you in the next one.